What's up, y'all? This episode of Sports Spectrum's What's Up podcast is brought to you by Jesus One Apparel. In sports, we train for victory, we push through adversity, we fight through pain to win. But here's the most important truth. The greatest victory has already been won. Jesus said in John 16:33, "In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world." That's the verse that inspired Jesus One Apparel. This brand is built on one simple, bold message. Jesus won because on the cross, Jesus defeated sin. He conquered death. He secured forgiveness. He made a way for eternal life. His victory means that we don't fight for the win. We live from victory and love. Jesus One Apparel exists to start conversations about Jesus through a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a hat. It's more than clothing. It's a declaration of faith. It's a bold step. It's an opportunity to represent Christ wherever you train, compete, work, or live. If you're ready to wear the victory and spark conversations that matter, visit JesusOneApparel.com and use code SportsSpectrum for 20% off your next order. What is up, Fisher Finley? Love that we have some Notre Dame lacrosse on the show today. Thanks so much for making time.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited about this podcast because I play lacrosse. So selfishly, I love interviewing lacrosse players. But the question I ask every guest on the What's Up podcast is, what are you all about right now? And I know you're in season and there's a lot of lacrosse going on, but is there a song, a restaurant, a snack, a new life hack, something that you are all about at the moment?
Yeah, it's hard to not say anything lacrosse related since that's top of mind. But I will say, since it's Masters weekend coming up, I'm all about golf right now. Anytime we have a day off, we're just, posting up with the boys. Just love watching golf. So it's the 90th anniversary this weekend. So really excited to watch some really good golf.
Okay, so that leads me to ask, I'm sure you're a great golfer. So what's your best golf shot you've ever hit that you're very proud of?
My best golf shot I've ever hit. The only ones that come to mind are bad golf shots because I've been having a lot of those recently,
Hey,
coming out
those
of the
are
winter.
okay too.
Yeah, the South Bend winter does not help out the golf game. I don't know. I would just say maybe not a golf shot, but anytime I play golf with my grandfather, he actually played in the Masters. He was a tour player. And so just anytime I get to go out and play with him is always just a really special opportunity because he has so much knowledge of the game and experience. But at the same time, the equipment and technology has progressed so far. So I, hit it a lot farther than he ever could just because he was probably using wooden clubs. So it's kind of a fun thing.
Wow, what a cool connection that you have with your grandfather and also an athlete. Obviously, lacrosse is a very different sport in many ways, but I'm sure a lot of similarities over just the mentality that you have to have overcoming adversity. What's maybe something that he has taught you, maybe about golf, that you've been able to translate into either just your life or lacrosse?
This could be a whole podcast in of itself. He has taught me a lot, but it's more of learning from maybe what not to do in some ways. He's actually a big inspiration of me and my athletic endeavors as well as my faith. He went for the majority of his tour years with no relationship with God, and he just basically got crumbled into the daily grind of golf and just trying to chase a score, providing for, four kids. And he just continually got beat down by the game of golf. And that actually brought him to God. And so for me, like learning from him to just kind of realize like, I do have a relationship with God and that's a pivotal part for me. But at the same time, using that when, lacrosse or any sport is going to bring you down at some point and just realizing, like that's not who I am. And just, relying on God through all those moments is really something he's learned and he's taught me for the most part.
That's really special that he's been able to have that impact on you athletically, but also spiritually. And golf is an individual sport in a way, right? In lacrosse, you have a team around you, but it can also feel so isolating at times, even when you have 30, 40 girls or guys around you. And so leaning on your faith and having that foundation is so important. I'm curious, and I'm sure we'll get into just the big games, the small games, the highs and the lows of college lacrosse and even leading into college lacrosse. How have you had to lean on your faith throughout what is an incredibly iconic program in Notre Dame and how the incredible things that come with that, but also the hard that comes with that?
Yeah, I mean, I could go on for a long time just in my past and how my faith has kind of changed me over the past 5 years. I'm a grad student, so back for one more year. This is my fifth year at Notre Dame, but I would
Now they're
say
calling
that
you the grandpa. Now they're calling you the grappa.
yeah, exactly. but I mean, there's going to be highs and lows throughout every career, right? So, coming in as a redshirt freshman, that was a battle. Every single lacrosse player, it's such a small margin to make it to the collegiate level. And so, for many of us going to college, you were highly recruited. You're one of the best players on your team in high school. And so, going from that to not playing at all was a struggle. Then, trying to get a spot, losing spots, national championships, not making the tournament. There's been a lot of highs and lows throughout my college career. And I would say like the biggest thing that has humbled me has been my faith, but also we have a Bible study on our team that you just get to learn from guys around you that kind of just be able to, you know, regardless of, if you beat Richmond last week or, we lose to Virginia the week prior, we still have Bible study on Thursday. And so kind of coming back to those guys week in, week out is really huge for me.
Definitely. And you mentioned just the adversity that you faced to me off camera about coming into college and having to be a redshirt freshman. Do you mind just describing what that was like? Because so many high school athletes, they might be the best in their area, best in their high school. And then when they get to freshman year, it looks very different, regardless of whether or not um, your talent level is there, ready to go.
Yeah. So for me, I tore my ACL September 1st of my junior year. So if you remember that, that was the very first day that.
You tore your ACL September 1st of your junior year.
Yeah, and it was actually a funny story because do you know Midnight Mania? It used to be, I don't know if it's even around anymore, but so at 12 a.m., September
Yes.
1st, you're in front of every college coach, and that's the first opportunity you're allowed to talk to them. And I went in the first scrimmage at like 12:30, boom, tore my ACL on like the second play I was in. And I was like, oh my gosh, in front of every coach I want to play for, just saw me go down and a burning, fire. How are they going to want to recruit me now, right? And one of the coaches, which is now my defensive coordinator, Coach Wellner, he actually came over to me, and he was the only coach that came over to me from all the coaches, and just didn't even say anything about lacrosse, and was just like, "Hey, man, hope you're all right. Wishing you all the best." And so moments like that, and then going the next year, tearing my ACL in the basketball season, so didn't play my junior senior year, and then going into my freshman year was quite different from people, but at the same time, it's my story, and it's exactly the path that God, wanted me to go down to prepare me for college. So wouldn't change
That
it.
is wild. Wow. For
Yeah.
for that to happen too on September 1st of your junior year, for people who don't know, for lacrosse players specifically, there was a rule change that changed the recruiting rule when coaches could talk to you, and it became September 1st of your junior year. And so it was this huge moment, this big moment in time when everybody was really waiting by their phones to see who was going to reach out. And for that to happen on what was supposed to probably be a really exciting and happy day for you really flip. But what a cool connection with the now Notre Dame coach that you have is so crazy. I'm curious, how did you have to lean on your faith and the confidence from not playing on the field for so many years and so many months of being sidelined to then going to Notre Dame and really finding success on the field?
This is where I love to say that I lean on others and then they're relying on God because I see faith in other people so much because my freshman year was it was a struggle. It was a struggle academically going to Notre Dame. In high school, you could be in hard classes, you would study a little bit and get an A. Go to Notre Dame, studying for weeks is the bare minimum just to get, a B plus in a class. So that was a difference
C's
for
get
me.
degrees, Fisher. C's get
You're right.
degrees.
C's to get degrees. Yeah, exactly.
We want A's. We want A's. We want
We want
A's. We're
A's. We
promoting
try
that on
to.
the podcast.
However, you just try your best. But yeah, so education was tough. The difference from Georgia lacrosse, was not very difficult compared to collegiate lacrosse. Was a huge step up for me, as well as just socially, just trying to fit in within the team and everything. It was really. Honestly, probably one of the hardest years of my life. There was just a lot going on, but a lot of growth. And I had a lot of upperclassmen that kind of just pulled me by the side and just talked to me and helped me through those things. And I don't know, I just seeing their faith work through them and helping someone out that really needed it was super impactful.
Someone recently who I spoke to said that she had to borrow her teammates' faith during certain seasons of injury and adversity, and I thought that was such a incredible way to describe, like, what it really feels like when you're just borrowing someone's faith because you need teammates to pour into you. You need your mom to send you an encouraging text. You need to open the Bible app and hear what it has to say for that day in that verse, and I love the term "borrow" because it really is that, because your faith is your own in your relationship with the Lord, but in so many moments, even just through college athletics, you need to borrow people's faith when you need that encouragement. And so I love to hear that. But you do have a very uncommon story, not just in what it took to get to Notre Dame and being from not a lacrosse hotbed in Georgia, but also winning two national championships back to back, the first for your program. So could you just describe the difficulty to even get to the Final Four?
Well, I think with this story, you always got to take it back 1 year. Our freshman year, we didn't even make playoffs. So that was one of the first time in years, and we had a stacked fifth year lineup. We had every guy playing in the pros, first team All Americans, all the nines, and we didn't even make playoffs. And so that alone was just heartbreaking for all of us as a freshman. Seeing guys that you look up to literally just bawling, crying in front of you, guys that you would never expect a single tear to come out. It, ingrained a passion and a fire in you. And then that is one of the main drivers that I think why we were so passionate and successful in 2023 to go back and win a national championship. But it is one of the best feelings you'll ever have, winning a national championship. It makes all the work feel worth it. But doing it two times is something I don't think anyone ever expects, but it's something that we did, and we get to hold on to that for the rest of our lives.
I love that you explained the burning memory almost of your seniors crying because that really holds power and it can really propel you into the next season and those feelings of this is what it feels like to win. Oh, we got to get back to this because all that work would be brutal if we didn't, right? And so I love that. When you think about those two national championships, I guess I'll start with 2024, the most recent. What's a core memory that sticks out to you?
I would just say the locker room. Man, did we love each other. We did everything to, and that's still part of our culture. And that's something that we always talk about is we're very lucky to have some really great grad students, from Yale, Harvard, Virginia, wherever it is. And they always come to our school and they say, man, your team's different. Like this culture is different. We do everything together. Whether it's outside, of lacrosse, whether inside lacrosse, guys are just posted up in the locker room for an hour, sometimes way longer than that. Probably need to get, to studying or something like that. But we just are a very tight knit group, and I think that allows you to be able to be really hard on each other in the right ways. So the 2024 team, it just the chemistry was off the charts, and I just remember every day feeling like that really good glow inside because everyone was just kind of bouncing off each other and working really hard.
I'm curious because in moments when you are sidelined with injury, serious injury, or you're not getting the playing time that you want, and then you do have a season of change when you're playing in a national championship game, too. How do you reflect? And obviously, still a lot more lacrosse for you even this season, but how do you reflect on where the Lord has brought you in moments when you're standing on the national championship field? Like, man, there was a time when I was the kid who tore his ACL September 1st of my junior year.
Exactly. It brings a tear in my eye. I remember, senior year, all I wanted to do was play lacrosse. I wanted to win a state championship, bring it for the first time in, over a decade at that point for our school. And I remember losing to our team rival and just bawling my eyes out because I couldn't do anything. I was helpless. I was sidelined and there was nothing I could do about it. And then coming a couple years later, and then I wasn't playing as much, but I actually got a little playing time in the national championship and just, I probably had 2 goals that entire season, 3 goals, but one of them was in the national championship. And the amount of
Come
humility
on, come on, let's
and
go. Come on.
but it was actually a humbling experience for me. It was quite the opposite because you would think, "Oh, man, I worked it. I did all these things. I put in all this effort to come back." But it was, like, quite the opposite because I just happened to be in that situation at the right time, and, it humbled me, and I will never forget that situation, but it also reminds me, like, today, there's guys on my team that have torn their ACL for the 2nd time currently right now, one of my teammates battling through that, and I'm just, for some of these hard days, my career's coming to an end as a 5th year. I look at a guy like that, I'm just like, wow. I remember not being able to play at all. And that burning desire just to go out and play, not score goals, not do anything, but just be a good teammate and help guys out. It brings me, back to where I want to be to mindset wise to be able to play at my best.
That's really wise because the older I've gotten, the more I've come to understand that certain things that I go through or experience, it's like this I might be going through this not for me, but so that I'm able to speak into someone else or speak into someone else's situation or relate to them in certain ways. Even with this job, interviewing athletes and even lacrosse players, like I've played in national championship games, I've rode the bench in national championship games. Like I've won and I've lost. And so it's like, okay, Lord, like in those moments when you're hurt, you're injured, you're sidelined, your experience isn't always just for you. And I think it's a really unselfish way to view when you go through really hard things in life. And so I love that perspective that you have when you think about getting your mind right for playing in those big time games and even games in the regular season that you've been playing in that matter a lot. How do you get your mind right when there's a lot going on with game plan, trying to get the team fired up, being a grad student on the team and a team leader?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, for viewers at home, we just played the number one team, Richmond, and now this week we're playing the number one UNC. So back to back number one team. So,
Who made
um,
this schedule? Come on.
right,
You guys
Coach
could. Total
Corrigan.
stretch here.
No, and we love it. We love it. But I will say, you have to be really diligent, and you have to treat like every day as a business trip, right? Where all you're thinking about is how are we staying in line of what we need to do to get better and making sure we're handling our academics, because as coach always says, if you're getting behind on one thing, it's going to seep into the other things. And so being really mature, and as someone who's been there around the block and seen national championship teams and the way that those guys operate in and out of the locker room, it's my job and my duty, as well as the other fifth years and seniors, to kind of impress upon them how we operate within the week. So Tuesday practice. Not a lot going on. It can just be a regular Tuesday practice, but are we showing up intentionally 30 minutes early to get those extra stretches, wall ball, reading the scout a little bit extra to be able to prepare mentally for switching from class to practice? And those practices are really what fuel the fire for, game days. So I would say all that work starts way earlier in the week, and then just trying to help out the underclassmen as well as the whole team just to be ready.
And you mentioned just even getting to the field a little bit early just to get your mind right. Sometimes I even feel like just getting to the locker room and just sitting in there, like you said, some people just hang out. It's like, okay, reset. Like next thing, like that was a terrible test that I just took. Well, I'm at lacrosse practice now. And you're so right with having to get your mind right in those moments and collectively as a team as well. When you look at this 2026 team, where is the edge that you feel like you all have picked up to be able to knock off number one seeded teams? Because obviously there's incredible talent across the NCAA at the level that you're playing at. People work really hard. Everyone's working really hard. Everyone's going to class and school and, trying to make it all work. But where does this team you feel find your edge?
I think you can always go back to culture, but since I mentioned that maybe a little bit earlier, just because at the end of the game, that's where the rubber meets the road, and you have to make the plays. I think that also falls down on just culture. But I would say for this team is probably our depth of different players. I would say in the past years, you've had the Kavanaugh supporting us, and you've had great goalies like Liam Entenmann, kind of those foundational players. And not to say we don't have them this year, but every single player on the field can score. Every single defender can take the ball away. Every single, I think there's so many guys that are stepping up, especially the younger guys, that are so skilled. Like there's so many guys that are never going to be maybe seeing the field this year since they're very young, freshmen, sophomores, but they are elite athletes, elite lacrosse players. And I think that everyone is playing their part, playing their role and their job to prepare us for a national championship.
That's exciting. People got to tune into some Notre Dame men's lacrosse games. And I think what's so cool about coming to a college lacrosse program or college athletic program at any school is that you're going to have athletes who grew up in different areas of the country who bring their own flavor to the game and what they're good at and skills that they know and perspectives from what they've seen. And you grew up in Georgia, not a lacrosse hotbed. And it's something I'm super passionate about because I started playing lacrosse in the state of Indiana where it was not a lacrosse hotbed. And there were so many young girls who have come up to me over the years and just said, hey, how did you get to play Division I lacrosse when you didn't grow up in Long Island or New Jersey? Or, I did end up moving to Massachusetts, but didn't grow up in Massachusetts. And so for you, what would the encouragement be to those kids who might not have accessible all these travel tournaments, all these pickup leagues around them like they do on the East Coast, but to be able to get to one day a program like Notre Dame?
Wait, you didn't wanna go to Notre Dame though, from Indiana?
You know what? I would have loved to go to Notre Dame. I had some great best friends that went to Notre Dame, but big rival school of Boston College.
It is, it is. I know that very well for the women's teams. Um, I would just say it's a huge chip on your shoulder. I mean, I bet you felt the same way, you know? You're someone from Georgia, you're going up, you know, Indiana, doesn't matter, going up to Long Island, these guys that literally this is their backyard. You know, we had to fly to every single lacrosse game, for summer tournaments, and these guys drove. You know, let alone the investment that your parents have put into yourself, but as well as your own investment and just trying to be great. That comes with a huge responsibility and a chip on your shoulder that it's not just, oh, another weekend tournament. It's like my parents just spent thousands of dollars to fly up to give me an opportunity to play in front of these coaches. I love them. I want to show them how much I care and I'm thankful for it. And I'm going to go play my heart out. So I would say for anyone that lives in a different state or isn't in a lacrosse hotbed, like let that be the chip on your shoulder that motivates you to work a little bit harder than those guys that might have all the coaches and training that is disposable to them.
That's cool. I love that, and I found it fun picking up some accents from the East Coast with my teammates. So there's always that when you get to play with different people. But you are at an iconic just school in Notre Dame. What's been maybe one of your favorite memories? And you have a lot of years on you from the school, just from your time as a Notre Dame student.
The 2023 post national championship, one of my teammates, Other Sorn, is our founder of Notre Dame, and he had a property that one of my teammates acquired, and it renovated a nice house on. And they have a pool in the backyard, and we had the entire national championship team all in the backyard literally just being together, listening to music, soaking up the rays since we really, you know, never had a chance through the tournament. And before the tournament, like today, it was 32 degrees out this morning, right? So we still have not had great weather. And I just remember being around the guys and it was so euphoric. Just thinking about that's going to be the last time we're ever going to be together. And then that night, one of our restaurant bars that we always go to, I remember seeing the first team All American, Liam Entenman, and first team All American attackman, Pat Cavanaugh, holding each other around the arms with the national championship trophy in their hands and them sobbing in tears, crying together because that's how much it meant to them. So just seeing how much guys care at Notre Dame and the culture and the history behind Notre Dame is something that I'll never forget.
Man, that is such a special moment, and it's funny because you weren't even in that little hug. Like, you're
No,
just like, "That made
no,
me cry." That's
yeah.
so I there's it's so great when you get to experience someone having a joyful moment like that because sometimes it's almost better for you, and so that is so special and so cool. If people were to go to Notre Dame and they're on a college visit or they're just checking it out, what's your go-to spot on campus?
On campus, I would
Or
say
off if you really like somewhere off campus?
I'll give it. I'll give it. We have the Duncan Student Center, which has a bunch of restaurants, but the sneaky one that's great is DCO Cafe. It's right next door. Has great wraps and burritos. That's what I would go with.
What was it called? DCO?
DCO,
Oh,
DECIO.
okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. Well, people have to go check it out, and that is very fun. But you mentioned just the music after celebrating, and I know when you're on college team in any sport, there's always a ton of music being played. There's always games on the bus. There's always team traditions that you do. What's a staple of Notre Dame's men's lacrosse that you guys always do when maybe you're just on the road together?
Music related or anything related?
It could be music or it could be a game, whatever you guys always do.
A perfect answer for both of those things. Little community bonding for us that involves music is our first away travel game. So it's usually Marquette because that's like a 4 hour drive. Ohio State, same type of deal. The freshmen and the seniors are always paired on the same bus together. And on the way home, all the freshmen have to put noise canceling headphones over their ears and have to do karaoke in front of the entire bus. And that's always a lot of laughs. They have to
Who
make,
was the best at it this year? Who was the best singer? Freshman on
I
the
actually was
team?
on the other bus. We have a really
Oh,
small junior class, so I missed out this year, but I heard a bunch of guys were actually pretty good, but no one's supposed to be good. We boo every single guy, so
My freshman year, we missed it because it was COVID. You had to wear masks, so they weren't going to let us do that on the bus. And so I think when I was a senior, the freshmen realized, wait, your class never did it. So I had to do it as a senior, which is like
No way.
worse because you're older, you're more mature, you're like more established in the program. And so you can't really pen it off to being a freshman. But that is a fun tradition. You said you had a music. I know there's one other Notre Dame lacrosse tradition, but is it the bagpipes that you were going to bring up?
That is also another one that's great. And that one's actually changed a lot because we've had some people that have come, like Brian Tevlin, that actually have grown up playing bagpipes, funny enough. But then we also have guys that it's a tradition where the graduating bagpiper has to put into someone's locker the bagpipes. And then traditionally, it's been someone that's maybe a freshman or sophomore that can carry it for a couple of years. But last year, it was to Ben Ramsey, which was his first year doing it. And he gave it to a now senior who is Ryan Sforzo. So they're starting to have more frequent bagpipers, but we'll see. It's a great tradition. I love it.
It's an incredible tradition, and for people who have not seen it, a player on the men's lacrosse team will play the bagpipes as you all walk out onto your game day field. What does that moment feel like as a player?
So different. I would say, you have all of your EDM, rock, whatever music, but there's not really much of a connection to the music. Whereas if you have a bagpiper that has spent hours, working with the Notre Dame bagpipers on campus, and he's put so much time and energy. And for this last weekend, it was Easter. Ryan played Amazing Grace going out, and there's a certain type of energy that has going out, and I don't know, it's just something special. It gets all the boys juiced up, so it's great. It's a special tradition for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure Amazing Grace must have been beautiful on the bagpipe. I've never heard it, and so maybe I'll have to go back on the game film and watch that. But how special and what a cool tradition that is so unique to Notre Dame men's lacrosse. But I did love hearing about your faith and what the Lord has taught you, and just being a grad student. I think you have an extra added year on there where you can experience lacrosse, but also just life in Notre Dame from another perspective and a further out perspective. When you think about what the Lord has taught you throughout just this season and what he's put on your heart, what's maybe one thing that sticks out to you?
I think being any elite athlete in college or professionals, it's like you have to have confidence in yourself, right? And so I definitely have always struggled growing up, with that balance of confidence versus arrogance. And so I love that C.S. Lewis quote that humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking about yourself less. So being a fifth year senior, there's a bigger role on the team, but at the same time, it's not just on the field. It's how you can help out the younger guys. And so I think that's a big way that my faith has kind of shaped me is just being a steward and a fisher of men around the team and just, checking on guys that maybe I would have not have thought of, in the past. I think that's something that I know that all the past kind of notable Christians that have been on my team have really done for me. So really just trying to use my faith to make sure that all those guys on our team that might not feel like they have a home just yet feel, right in with the group and the culture.
And that's why the Lord brings you through the different seasons that he does and different roles that you play on the team before you get to Notre Dame, on your journey to Notre Dame, and while you're at Notre Dame fighting for hopefully a third national championship for Fisher Finley. Seriously, thank you so much for taking the time out of your crazy busy schedule in the midst of like the gauntlet of your season as well to come on the show. We're super excited to point people to you, and make sure you all tune into the pregame to watch the bagpipes this season. How good is Ryan? 1 out of 10. How good is he at it?
I'll give him 9.6.
Okay, what would take him that extra percent? What does he need to do?
Smile a little bit better.
I
He
love
seems
it.
too stressed out. But thank you,
Hey,
seriously.
that's
This was amazing, and I love that you were talking about faith and athletics. It's a pivotal part for many people on our team, so I really appreciate it.
so cool. We're excited to point people to you, to your team, and ultimately to Jesus. But seriously, Fisher, thank you so much, and go Irish.
Go Irish.